These are the end times. There was no hope of survival. This is how you died. That might take a couple shots. Yeah, it's you're kind of, you got a lot of head protection there. It might take. Oh wow, there you go. Project Zomboid is an open world zombie survival game, and in my opinion, the best survival game of all time. Though many things about it are great, I think its greatest strengths lie in the design of its gameplay systems, and so that's what I would like to talk about today. I'm first going to talk about each system in isolation before explaining how it relates to the rest of the game as a whole and why the system works in the way it does. I'm also, as we go, going to fill out a gameplay web, which I'll explain a bit more later when we get to it. First up, I'm going to talk about the inventory system. On its surface, the inventory system is fairly simple. There is no strict limit of how many different items you can carry. Rather, there is an encumbrance system. Each item in Project Zomboid has an encumbrance value that is based upon both how large it is and how much it weighs. If you're carrying more than you should, you will be slower and generally less effective at anything that requires movement. And if you're carrying way too much, you will even start to take damage. Equipping different types of bags and increasing your strength will allow your character to carry more things at once. I would say that the inventory system is one of the core systems of Project Zomboid. I refer to it as a core system because 1, it is required to progress, and B, you frequently use it. So, why is it designed like it is? Mainly, the game does not want you to be able to carry everything at once, and this is for a few reasons. Firstly, this encourages the player to have a permanent base where they can store all of their stuff. Second, it forces the player to go on more looting runs, where inevitably they will end up in dangerous situations. Third, it forces the player to make more active decisions about what to take and what to leave behind. Project Zomboid's inventory, in my opinion, is perfect for the hardcore survival the game goes for, and encourages fun, thoughtful play without being unnecessarily complicated or bloated. Next up is the health system. Project Zomboid has a decently in-depth health system. Your character does still have a health bar, but it does not go down just one time each time you take damage. Whenever you are, say, damaged by a zombie, your character gains some sort of wound, be it a scratch, bite, or laceration. If you do not bandage the wound, your character will bleed, and their health bar will go down. There are other types of injuries as well. Broken limbs, embedded shards of glass, and lodged bullets are all possibilities, and each is treated differently. There are also numerous medical supplies that exist in the game that can help you better patch up your character. However, the most unique part of Project Zomboid's health system is how it handles what happens after you treat an injury. Nothing in Project Zomboid will immediately just go away after you treat it, and oftentimes rest and even more treatment are necessary in order to fully heal from the injury. That is, if it's even curable. The health system is the second core system in Project Zomboid, and its purpose, believe it or not, is to facilitate dying. Project Zomboid, again, goes for a hardcore survival experience, and so an unforgiving and fairly realistic health system plays into that very well. The system encourages preparedness and diligence. It is important to have clean bandages and disinfectant on hand in case you do get injured. It also creates interesting stories and situations. You might be hurt while also being surrounded by zombies, or you might have to choose between starving or going out while you're hurt. This system, I will say, is not quite as expansive or good as it could be. The solution to most problems is the same, disinfect and bandage, so it's fairly one known. Plus, rags and disinfectant are common enough where it's not too much of a hassle to get them, and the system suffers because that makes it just more trivial to deal with. Apparently though, the system will get a rework at some point, so I'm excited to see that. I think now is about the time to explain the gameplay web I mentioned earlier. The way it works is by connecting each system with a different color arrow. Red means a negative effect, green means positive. So, because if you're carrying too much, it has a negative effect on your health, we'll draw a red arrow leading from the inventory system to the health system. Similarly, because being in poor health reduces your carrying capacity, we would draw another red arrow from the health system to the inventory system. Eating like a whole thing of cocoa powder makes you really thirsty. Yeah,
I wonder
okay.
why.
How was I supposed to know that?
Because I've done it before in real life, and it makes you very thirsty.
How old were you?
12.
That's a little too old, I think. Next up is the Moodle system, and what I would call the third core system of Project Zomboid. This system is where the majority of the traditional survival mechanics of the game live. Thirst, hunger, and happiness management are all tied into the Moodle system. All but one of the Moodles negatively affect your character in some way until they're dealt with. Some are just kind of inconvenient, like unhappiness and boredom, but others can easily kill you, like sickness or thirst. One of the most interesting parts of the system is how esoteric it is. True to its name, the system tells you the mood or feelings of your character, but not where they come from, how to fix it, or what the effects are. For example, one of the Moodles in the game is wet. The game doesn't tell you exactly why you're wet, just that you are wet, and that it can be from rain, sweat, or something else. Each Moodle also comes in different severities, and there is a traditional progress bar behind each of them, even if the game doesn't show it to you. You're never quite sure exactly how close your Moodles are to getting worse or better, which again adds to the hidden nature of the system. This esoteric nature also plays into the zombie infection systems of the game. You may not know if your character has contracted the infection until your health begins to plummet. I personally really like the Moodle system, and I think it fits the game very well. I can understand why someone would be frustrated with its more confusing aspects, but I appreciate the ingenuity and thoughtfulness that it brings to the game. It's enjoyable to try and suss out what is wrong with your character and how to solve it. Notably, every single type of Moodle but one negatively affects your character in some way. Additionally, most of the negative effects systems give each other are fed through the Moodle system. So, even though being over-encumbered causes problems with your health, the Moodle is really the actual thing that causes the issues with your health. Because of that, it's a bit hard to put on the web super properly. But here's what I will do. I'm not going to put the Moodle system on the web, but I will put the hunger, thirst, boredom, tiredness, and unhappiness subsystems on there, as these all pretty much come directly from the Moodle system and not from somewhere else. I'll just mark them as the survival system. This system negatively affects both the health and inventory system, but also positively affects health due to the well-fed Moodle helping you heal quicker. Oh, I caught a dirty rag. This'll feed us. This'll get us through the winter, Jack. Don't laugh. This dirty rag will feed us for the rest of our lives. You know what? I think it'll actually feed you for the rest of your life. I don't think you're gonna live that much longer, frankly. The fourth core system is the combat system. The combat system in Project Zomboid is simple but effective. With a melee weapon, you have two options: hit or push. Pushing a zombie is more likely to make it fall over, but doesn't deal any damage. When dealing with one zombie or a small group of zombies, killing them while they are on the floor is often the best option. Zombies don't attack while knocked down, and attacking their head when they are down is the best way to deal damage. Hordes, however, rarely offer a player the luxury of getting to hit a zombie while it's down. This is one of the things that makes hordes extra dangerous. Another is that only one zombie can be effectively targeted at a time. There is no such thing as cleaving 3 zombies in 2 with one strike. Getting hit or blocking a zombie's attack also causes your character to stand still for a moment. This isn't too much of an issue with small groups, but even this small amount of time can be more than enough to get swamped by a horde. Project Zomboid also features ranged combat. Guns are powerful, but come with a lot of drawbacks. Namely, they are really loud. Zombies can still hear you, despite their compromised state, and firing even a single shot in an urban area will often cause multiple hordes to converge upon the position of the shot. Guns are by far the most effective way to clear a horde, but they're also one of the most effective ways to draw a horde to you, so they become a risk that you may not be willing to take. The combat system, in my opinion, works very well for Project Zomboid. It's pretty scrappy and fairly imprecise, but that makes sense with the setting and situation at hand. Your character was not trained or ready for this, and that shows in the combat. Additionally, I appreciate how it encourages you to avoid combat at times because of how risky it can be to deal with. I also really like how hordes are very dangerous, while individual zombies are less so. My opinion on range combat is a bit more mixed, though. I like the risk of attracting zombies, but I also feel that the benefit does not necessarily outweigh the risk. Guns in Project Zomboid are really inaccurate at a baseline, and though they get more accurate as your character learns to use them, it's still at a very slow rate. Regardless, as a whole, I do really like the combat system. I appreciate how unique it is and how it ties into the other systems of the game. Speaking of that, on the gameplay web, we're going to draw a red line from combat to health because of the fact that you can easily get hurt during combat. We're also going to draw a green line to the inventory because killing zombies is a good way to get new items. Some red lines are also going to come from the survival, health, and inventory systems, because each of these can negatively affect combat if not managed correctly.
Is there an anime girl on this wall?
Where? The fifth and final core system is the movement system. In Project Zomboid, there are a few different ways to move around, namely walking, crouching, jogging well crouched, and sprinting. Moving more quickly is always louder and more exhausting, so it's not one of those games where the correct option is to always sprint at full speed. There are also contextual movement options, like climbing through a window or over a fence. The movement system in Project Zomboid is relatively simple. It's not like you're going to be doing any crazy movement tech, but it is still good because of the thoughtful options it provides. Walking, crouching, and running each have a time and place where they are useful, and the correct choice is not always clear. Let's say, for instance, that you're sneaking around a horde when one zombie notices you. If you stay crouched, it might catch up, but if you do anything else, the rest of the group might notice you as well. The correct choice is not immediately obvious, and that to me is what makes the movement system, along with many other systems in Project Zomboid, so engaging. As for the gameplay web, we're going to draw a red line from movement to the combat system, as moving around too much can give you the exhausted moodle, which makes it harder to fight. A red arrow will also come from the combat system, which can also make you exhausted and make it harder to move. We're also going to draw a red line from the survival, health, and inventory systems that lead to the movement system. Well, you're a firefighter, though. You don't want to deal with this? No, that's not what you do. That's not how you deal with it. With all of the core systems done, I'm going to move on to the other systems in the game. However, there are a lot of them, and so I'm going to try and be fairly brief with these while also doing them justice. Crafting is probably the widest system in the game. There are a lot of different things you can craft, and a good few different crafting systems, such as welding, carpentry, and tailoring. Crafting is a system that only provides benefits when used, and has no negatives attached to it. It, in isolation, is not super complicated once you understand it. In order to craft something, you need the proper tools, location, such as a workbench, materials, and level. It's typically more of a late-game activity, and it can take a lot of effort in order to get the needed materials to craft something. As such, it usually feels like a big accomplishment when you do so. To be honest, I haven't gotten to interact with the crafting system too much. It's, as I mentioned, a fairly late-game activity, and even then, it's anything but required. It seems cool, to me at least, and the early game crafting that I have interacted with has been fun and rewarding. Crafting provides positives to health, because you can craft armor, and combat, because you can craft weapons. Next up is building. This is another fairly late game system, and it allows you to build your own structures. It operates similarly to crafting, with you needing sufficient tools, materials, and levels to build something. It's a pretty cool system, though I haven't interacted with it much either. I personally prefer to make a base out of an already existing structure, but I'm glad the system is there for those who enjoy it. Although it doesn't exactly directly affect any other system, I'm going to draw a green line from it to combat, because constructed barricades and walls are very helpful when dealing with zombies, and to the inventory system, due to being able to build storage. Now we have the vehicle system. Usable vehicles in Project Zomboid can be somewhat difficult to find, but the effort is well worth it. Vehicles are your primary method of long-distance transport, and also a must for long looting runs. However, there are, as always, some downsides. Vehicles are loud. Not as loud as a gun, but loud regardless. They also take a lot of work to run smoothly. Sometimes you have to replace parts or scavenge fuel just to keep your vehicle running. I like the vehicle system, and I think the vehicles requiring a lot of maintenance is a good trade-off for the amount of power they provide otherwise. Them being loud also makes sense, and helps to make people more intentionally engaged with the system. You can just drive up to a place you want to loot, but maybe it's a better idea to park far away and sneak in. The vehicle system has positive impacts on movement, because, car, and the inventory system because the car has storage space in it. I'm also going to put a red line from the vehicle system to health due to how easy it is to crash, but keep in mind that isn't a guaranteed thing. Using a car doesn't automatically decrease your health. Do you think we can get this car to work?
Absolutely not.
Next up is the trait/character creation system. When you create a character in Project Zomboid, you get to pick a profession and a few traits. Professions typically provide some additional base stats to your character, and sometimes add a trait. When you take a trait, it either provides points or removes them, and in order to start a game, your points must be at least at 0. This makes you very choosy about how you want to build your character. Additionally, traits range in how much they affect your game. Some are fairly benign, such as conspicuous, but some, such as claustrophobic, completely change the way you play the game. I like the way traits shake things up, and they're a great way to make sure that no two playthroughs have to be the same. Because of how they work, traits can provide both positives and negatives to the entire game, so instead of just drawing like a billion lines, I'm going to outline it in red and green. Next up is the skill system. This is Project Zomboid's primary progression path. As you do certain activities, you will rank up your skills in that ability. You can also speed up the process with skill books, VHS tapes, and CDs. I like this system, and I think it fits the game well. My main gripe is that it is often somewhat unengaging to specifically grind out level ups, but the game doesn't really force or expect you to do so anyway. The skill system ties in very nicely to the inventory and looting system. Skill books are often something that you want to take with you, but they're also fairly heavy, and other things, like food, are usually more important. It becomes an important part of deciding what to take and what to leave. I really appreciate the existence of skill books as well, as it adds another layer to the skill system. Do you want to be boring and grind out the skill, or do you want to live a little dangerously and look for a skill book? The right choice, like many other choices in Project Zomboid, is not always clear. The skill system is going to be outlined in green because, like traits, it can positively impact pretty much every system in the game, but unlike that system, it doesn't provide any negatives. Now, for the rest of the systems, I'm going to go pretty fast. They're all mainly ways to get food, and they're important to long-term survival. However, they're also all pretty self-explanatory, and most kind of do the same things as each other. Farming is first. You can plant seeds to grow food. It's a good way to make long-term survival viable, and is pretty cool. It provides benefits to the survival system because it can make you not starve. The animal system is similar to farming. You can raise and butcher animals for meat.
Really? We can't just shoot it with a gun?
You know what? Fine. I missed. My gun jammed. I think God's telling us not to kill this cow, Jack. Alternatively, you can trap wild animals. It's a good way to not die. It positively impacts the survival system because it feeds you, and the crafting system because you can get crafting materials from animals. Fishing is just that, fishing. You can fish in ponds, rivers, and lakes to catch fish, which you can eat. It helps you not starve. Foraging lets you look for various items on the ground, and is typically used in the wilderness. It's a good way to find food and crafting materials, so it gets green arrows to crafting and the survival system. Alright, that, I think, is all of the major gameplay systems in Project Zomboid. Though, to be honest, I think in a game as deep as this, I'm bound to have missed something, so let me know about that in the comments. Don't leave yet though, as I have a few more things I'd like to say about the game. Firstly, I'd like to praise its use of non-gameplay important items, like money, jewelry, credit cards, and diaries. These objects are functionally useless, and there is very little reason to pick them up, but that's precisely why I like their inclusion. It adds to the legitimacy of the world, and it really helps to bring you into the setting. You could find $1 million on a corpse, and it would literally be worth less to you than a kitchen knife. This sort of thing is indicative of the wider atmosphere of Project Zomboid. It is at times stressful and tense, but it is sometimes also serene and calm. The world is over, yes, but you persist. You will die, but that curse is not unique to the apocalypse. The game, to me, carries a strange undertone of hope. In the words uttered to you at the beginning of the game, you are told that the world has ended. You are promised a terrible life and a terrible death, and so each small victory feels like it matters. Every second that you steal back from Father Time is a second that you fought for. Nothing is ever given to you. This, to me, is the genius of Project Zomboid's gameplay systems. From the second you start a run, the clock is ticking down. You're getting hungry, thirsty, and tired. Each core system in the game will passively make your life harder, and so you need to act in order to survive. Everything you do comes at a cost, and it's up to you to decide whether that cost is worth it. Your mind is constantly balancing 1,000 choices, and the correct choice is rarely clear because every choice has a trade-off. There is no correct decision, only better and worse ones. Each system on its own is simple, but together they combine into a deeply interactive whole. Bringing up the full gameplay web, I'll bet you notice something. That is, that you can't really read it. Part of that is my bad, but it's also due to the insane amount of connections between systems. Almost every single system in the game has at least 2 connections, and a good few even have more than that. This is one of the things that Project Zomboid does really well. Its systems are all very well connected, and the choices you make regarding one system have reverberations that extend to many others. Let's say, for instance, that I have just butchered a cow and used the bones that I got to craft armor. Now, my chance of getting injured is lower, but I'm also weighed down more, which slows me down and lets me carry less. This single interaction involves 6 different gameplay systems that I have listed, even if they don't directly interact. Again, there are so many choices, options, and things to consider when making even a simple choice. If you haven't already bought the game, now is a good time to do so. Build 42 Stable has just released and is probably the biggest update the game has ever seen. Oh, and if I haven't mentioned, this game is still actively being worked on. Hats off genuinely to the team at the Indie Stone. You all have crafted a masterpiece, and I hope you realize that. Thank you all for watching, even if you were playing Project Zomboid while watching this video. I get it. Honestly, I can't stop playing either. See you next time. It's like kind of a puke green color, which I think is probably bad, but
That's insanely bad. What are you talking about?
it's
It's good.
it's better than
You
like
know
it's better
nothing
than
about cars?
orange because it's like kind of green. It's
No,
between green and orange.
orange is check your engine. Puke green is check your engine now.
That's counterintuitive if that's the case, because like it's puke green is like between orange and regular green. So I feel like it doesn't make very much sense to like, you know.
Well, it's because the car lights are reversed.
What? Oh, you're saying orange is good and green is bad?
Yes.
Okay. I don't
No, wait.
think that's
No,
true.
that's wrong. That is wrong.